You look at your hands and you see freedom, but I look at your life and I see a ledger stained in red ink that you have been trained to ignore. Most of you are walking through life under the influence of a potent anesthesia called the American dream, and it is keeping you numb while the system surgically removes your sovereignty. You were born between 1970 and 1995, which means you were raised in the most sophisticated era of psychological conditioning in human history. They told you to go to school and you went. They told you to sign the paper for the degree that cost more than your father made in a decade, and you signed. They told you that a 30-year mortgage is an asset, and you believed them because you did not understand the brutal mathematics of compound interest, which is the weapon the wealthy use to harvest the time of the poor. You are not living in a house. You are living in a repayment schedule. You do not own a vehicle. You are leasing a depreciating liability that keeps you mobile enough to get to the job that pays the interest on the debt that bought the car. It is a perfect circle of bondage, and it is designed to keep you breathless. King Solomon wrote thousands of years ago that the rich rule over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. Notice that he did not say the borrower is a partner to the lender. He did not say the borrower is a client of the lender. He used the word slave. This is not a metaphor, and this is not poetry. This is a legal and spiritual definition of your status in the hierarchy of the universe when you owe another man your future labor. When you wake up in the morning and you feel that heavy pressure in your chest, that anxiety that tells you that you must keep running just to stay in the same place, that is not stress. That is the rattling of your chains. You have signed a covenant of debt without reading the terms of engagement, and now you are shocked that the war has come inside your home. You fight with your spouse about money, not because you do not love each other, but because there is a third party in your marriage. The bank is in your bed. The credit card company is sitting at your dinner table, eating the best portion of your meal before you even take a bite. You are violating the ancient laws of provision, which state that a man must leave an inheritance for his children's children. Instead, you are consuming the inheritance of your ancestors and borrowing against the prosperity of your descendants. You are eating the seed corn and wondering why there is no harvest. This system relies on your ignorance of the rule of 72 and the brutality of inflation. They print the money out of thin air, which dilutes the value of the dollars in your pocket, which is a silent tax on your life energy. Every hour you worked 10 years ago is worth less today because the currency is broken, but the debt remains fixed in absolute numbers. This is the trap. You are running on a treadmill that is speeding up while your legs are getting tired, and they call this building a credit score. A credit score is nothing more than a rating of how good you are at being a profitable slave. A high score means you are a reliable source of interest payments. It means you are a docile servant who can be trusted to show up and shear himself for the master. Stop wearing your credit limit like a badge of honor. It is a mark of how much sovereignty you have abdicated. We need to talk about the law of portions because you are violating the sacred geometry of wealth. You spend 100% of what you make, and then you borrow 20% more to keep up an appearance for people who do not care about you. The ancient wisdom demands a partition of resources, a third in land, a third in merchandise, a third in hand, or the rule of the 7 and the 8, where you diversify your streams, because you do not know what evil will come upon the earth. But you have 1 stream of income and 12 streams of expense. You have inverted the pyramid, and that is why your structure is wobbling. You are fragile. If the wind blows from the wrong direction, or the boss decides your role is redundant, your entire kingdom collapses in 90 days. That is not the posture of a king. That is the posture of a victim waiting for a tragedy. You have been taught that charity is giving money to the poor, but you cannot give what you do not have. You try to help everyone, and you end up needing help yourself. True charity is becoming so strong and so abundant that your overflow feeds the village. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and right now your cup is not just empty, it is cracked. You are trying to be the savior of the world while you are drowning in your own obligations. The wisdom of Solomon is ruthless because reality is ruthless. It demands that you secure your own perimeter before you try to expand the empire. It demands that you hate debt not as an inconvenience, but as a mortal enemy that is trying to kill your lineage. We are approaching the year 2026. This is not just a date on a calendar. It is a cosmic shifting of the guard. The economic tectonic plates are moving, and those who are standing on the fault line of debt will be swallowed whole. The transition that is coming will transfer wealth from the borrowers to the owners with a speed that will make your head spin. You have a very short window of time to change your identity. You must stop identifying as a consumer. You are not here to consume. You are an architect of a dynasty. You are the pillar that must hold up the roof when the storm comes. You are the one who breaks the curse of poverty that has plagued your bloodline for generations. But you cannot build the temple of your life on a foundation of sand. You must excavate the rot. You must look at your finances with the cold, hard stare of a general surveying a battlefield. No more denial. No more minimum payments. No more emotional spending to soothe the pain of your slavery. We are going to seal the leaks in your vessel so that you can hold the abundance that is trying to reach you. The universe wants to bless you, but it cannot trust you with power if you are still a slave to impulses and masters. Stewardship is the prerequisite for sovereignty. If you cannot manage the little, you will never be given the much. This is the law. You are being called to reconstruct the walls of your life. You are being called to establish a new covenant, one where you are the head and not the tail, one where you lend to many nations, but you do not borrow. This requires a death of the old self. The version of you that needs retail therapy must die. The version of you that signs contracts without understanding the leverage must die. The version of you that fears the future must be replaced by the version of you that commands it. The seal is being prepared. The gates are opening, but only for those who are willing to walk through the fire of discipline to get to the gold of freedom. I am not asking for your opinion. I am telling you the mechanics of how this world actually works. If you are tired of the illusion, if you are sick of the heavy yoke on your neck, if you are ready to stop playing house and start building a kingdom, then you need to signal that the shift has begun. You need to speak it into the atmosphere and carve it into the digital stone of this moment. I want you to declare your separation from the system of slavery. I want you to mark this moment as the turning point where the trajectory of your family line changed forever. Write in the comments right now, I activate the seal of Solomon. You have signaled your intent, but now you must understand the architecture of the burden you have asked to carry. Most men pray for rain without realizing they have built no cisterns to catch the water. If the heavens opened today and poured out the abundance you are begging for, it would wash you away because you lack the structure to contain it. The universe does not respond to your desperation. It responds to your design. It respects the laws of mathematics, because mathematics is the alphabet with which the Creator wrote the reality of this world. You have been lied to by a culture that worships feelings and despises order. You have been told that wealth is a lottery or a stroke of luck or a byproduct of being a good person. That is a fable for children, and it keeps the poor comfortably numb in their poverty. True sovereignty is engineered. It is built on the cold and hard foundation of ratios that have stood for 5,000 years. We are going to talk about the law of the thirds. This is the ancient code of preservation that the merchant princes of the desert knew before the first stock market ever opened its doors. The fool puts all his eggs in one basket and watches in terror as the market sways. The wise man divides his substance into 3 distinct kingdoms, 1/3 in land, 1/3 in merchandise, 1/3 in hand. Do not gloss over this. This is the holy trinity of asset allocation. 1/3 must be in the dust of the earth, because the earth remains forever while empires rise and fall. Real estate, land, the physical ground that cannot be stolen by inflation or erased by a server crash. 1/3 must be in business, the active trade, the flow of commerce where you multiply your talents and take calculated risks to expand your territory. And 1/3 must be liquid, gold, cash, resources that are ready to move at the speed of war. Because when the crisis comes and the streets are filled with panic, that liquid third allows you to buy the panic while others are selling their souls for a piece of bread. This is the rule of 33 and 33 and 33. If you violate this geometry, you are building a tower that leans, and gravity will eventually claim it. But the mathematics of sovereignty goes deeper than just where you put your money. It commands how you interact with the chaos of humanity. We must speak of the forbidden transaction, the trap that has ensnared more good men than all the armies of history combined, the snare of surety, the act of co-signing, the act of taking on a debt that is not yours to carry. The ancient wisdom warns us with violent clarity to deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, and like a bird from the hand of the fowler, if you have stricken hands in pledge for a stranger or even a friend. You think you are being kind, you think you are being charitable, you are being a fool. When you guarantee the debt of another, you are presuming on the future that you do not own. You are telling the universe that you have the power to control outcomes that are not in your hands. This is arrogance disguised as altruism. The borrower is servant to the lender, and when you co-sign, you are chaining your children to the bad decisions of a man who could not discipline himself. A king does not co-sign. A king gives, or a king refuses. If you have the money to lose and you wish to give it, then give it as a gift, and wash your hands of the expectation of return. But never shackle your peace to the volatility of another man's incompetence. This is the brutality of wisdom. It requires you to say no when every emotional bone in your body wants to be the hero. The hero dies broke. The sovereign builds a legacy. You must learn to calculate the cost before you lay the foundation. There is a rhythm to risk that you have ignored. The scrolls tell us to cast our bread upon the waters, for we shall find it after many days. But listen to the next line. Give a portion to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be upon the earth. 7 or 8. This is the ratio of diversification. You cannot predict the famine. You cannot predict the pestilence. You cannot predict the crash of 2026, so you do not predict. You prepare. You split your resources into 7 or 8 independent streams, so that if the fire burns down one field, you still have 6 harvests to feed your tribe. This is not pessimism. This is military strategy applied to resources. You are the general of your household, and a general who leaves his flank exposed because he is optimistic is a general who will lead his soldiers to a massacre. You must stop thinking like a consumer who is trying to survive the month. You must start thinking like the architect of a dynasty who is planning for the next 400 years. This requires a shift in your identity that is so radical it will feel like a death. The person you were yesterday, who bought things to impress people he did not like, must die. The person who used credit to finance a lifestyle that was a lie must be buried. You are rising now as a steward. Stewardship is the highest form of authority. It means you realize that nothing you have belongs to you. It all belongs to the source. You are merely the manager, and the manager is judged by one metric alone, and that metric is profit. Not for greed, but for expansion. The wicked servant buried his talent in the ground because he was afraid. The righteous servant traded and multiplied and doubled the estate. The universe punishes stagnation. Money is like blood. It must circulate or it causes a clot and kills the body. You must become a conduit for flow. But you cannot flow if you are clogged with the debris of bad debts and emotional spending and naive contracts. You must sanitize your financial house with the bleach of discipline. You look at the wealthy and you see the cars and the houses and the trips. You are looking at the fruit. You are missing the root. The root is the boring and repetitive and unsexy adherence to mathematical laws that do not bend for anyone. The root is living on 70% of what you make and investing the rest until the investment income exceeds the labor income. The root is refusing to eat the seed corn even when you are hungry. The root is understanding that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, and those who understand it earn it, while those who do not understand it pay it. We are approaching the seal of 2026. The cycle is resetting. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, but the just must have the capacity to receive it. If the transfer happened today, you would squander it because your container is cracked. We are sealing the cracks. We are mixing the mortar of wisdom and applying it to the walls of your life. This is not a game. This is the difference between your grandchildren owning the bank or your grandchildren cleaning the floors of the bank. The choice is binary. There is no middle ground. You are either a master of the math or a victim of the math. You are either the head or the tail. You are either above only or beneath. I am handing you the keys to the storehouse, but the door is heavy and you must be strong enough to push it open. Do not tell me you want to be rich. Show me your habits. Show me your ratios. Show me your discipline. Because the king does not judge you by your words, he judges you by your fruit. And right now, your fruit is telling a story of disorder. We are going to bring order to chaos. We are going to impose the government of wisdom over the anarchy of your finances. We are going to build a fortress that no storm can shake. This is the contrarian protocol. When the world runs, you stand. When the world spends, you save. When the world panics, you buy. When the world sleeps, you build. You are the outlier. You are the exception. You are the remnant that will carry the torch through the darkness of the economic winter that is coming. But you must agree to the terms of the covenant. You must agree to walk in the statutes of the geometric order of wealth. This is your initiation. The gates are open. The path is steep. The air is thin. But the view from the summit is absolute dominion. Look at the rubble around you. Do not look away. I demand that you stare into the cracks of the foundation you spent the last 2 decades laying down with weak mortar and compromise. You followed the script given to you by a system designed to extract your vitality and return nothing but inflation and anxiety. You went to their schools. You signed their promissory notes. You bought the house that owns you. You worked the hours that stole your youth. And here you are, standing at the precipice of a new era, with pockets that have holes in them. The scripture says that he who earns wages to put them into a bag with holes is laboring for the wind. You are tired of laboring for the wind. The wind has no loyalty. The wind does not feed your children. The wind does not build a dynasty that outlasts your bones. We are drawing a line in the sand right now. This is the demarcation point between the slave you were trained to be and the sovereign you were born to become. The year 2026 is not just a date on a calendar. It is a spiritual and economic checkpoint. It is the sealing of the gate. History moves in cycles, and you have been blind to the rhythm. But the wise man sees the storm while the sky is still blue, and he gathers his timber. We are about to reconstruct the temple of your life. This is not a renovation project. We are not painting over mold. We are tearing down the structure of debt and consumerism until we hit the bedrock of reality. And upon that bedrock, we are going to lay stones hewn from the quarry of discipline. Solomon built the temple with silence. No hammer or axe was heard at the site, because the work was done in the shadows before it was assembled in the light. This is your season of silent construction. You are going to apply the rule of the thirds. This is the geometric order of the universe. You cannot hold all your wealth in paper that burns. You cannot hold all your wealth in digits that can be deleted. You must divide your portion into 7 and also into 8, because you do not know what evil shall be upon the earth. 1/3 in the land that feeds you, 1/3 in the business that serves the marketplace, 1/3 in the gold and the silver that holds its tongue while the politicians scream. This is the tripod of stability. If one leg breaks, the other two stand. If the market crashes, the land remains. If the currency fails, the gold speaks. You have been gambling with your future by putting all your eggs in a basket woven by liars. Stop it. You are the architect of a dynasty, and architects do not gamble. Architects measure. Architects calculate load-bearing walls. Architects understand that gravity is relentless, and the gravity of the financial system is pulling everyone down into the abyss of permanent serfdom. But you are cutting the rope, and this requires a brutality that will make you uncomfortable. You must close your hand to the fool. This is the hardest lesson for the soft heart. You have been taught that charity is saying yes to every request. That is a lie from the pit. Giving money to a man who refuses to work is not love, it is a partnership in his destruction. When you bail out a family member who refuses to honor the laws of stewardship, you are not helping them, you are financing their addiction to mediocrity. You are interfering with the lesson that pain is trying to teach them. Let them fall. Let them feel the cold ground. Only the cold ground can wake them up from the slumber of entitlement. Your resources are holy. Your capital is the condensed energy of your life force. To cast it before swine who trample it in the mud is a sin against your own house. You are conserving your energy for the building of the 2026 temple. This is a sanctuary of abundance that does not bring sorrow with it. Most people have money that cries, money that was earned through stress, money that was earned through betrayal, money that keeps them awake at night, terrified of losing it. We are building wealth that sleeps soundly, wealth that is blessed, wealth that adds no trouble. You are part of the generation born between 1970 and 1995. You are the bridge. You saw the world before the digital cage snapped shut. You remember what it means to be human. You are the only ones equipped to carry the ancient wisdom into the new machine age. If you fail, the chain is broken. If you fail, your children become digital serfs in a metaverse they do not own. The weight of the lineage is on your shoulders. Do not shrug it off. Stand up straight. The burden is heavy, but your back is strong because it was forged in the fires of the last 3 recessions. You are ready. The blueprint is in front of you. The materials are gathered. The distractions are silenced. The mockers are outside the gate making noise, but you cannot hear them because you are too busy laying the gold overlay on the inner sanctuary. By the year 2026, your fortress will be complete. The economic winter will howl and the wolves will scratch at the door, but you will be warm inside. You will be the lender and not the borrower. You will be the head and not the tail. You will have the power to protect those you love, not with good intentions, but with hard assets and sovereign authority. This is the covenant. It is a blood oath between you and your potential. It requires a death. The death of the consumer, the death of the people-pleaser, the death of the victim, and the resurrection of the king, the resurrection of the steward, the resurrection of the wise. The seal is being placed upon your forehead right now. It distinguishes you from the multitude that is marching blindly off the cliff. You have stopped. You have turned around. You are walking uphill towards the throne. I want you to solidify this moment in time. I want you to drive a stake into the ground so deep that the vibrations shake the foundations of your past mistakes. This is a ritual act of separation. You are separating yourself from the herd. You are signing the decree of your own emancipation. Do not type this lightly. Do not type this if you intend to go back to sleep. Type this only if you are ready to pick up the trowel in one hand and the sword in the other. Signal to the ether that the architect has arrived on site. Write it now. I activate the seal of Solomon.